Mhm.
Hey everyone,
That's this guy,
this is that guy.
and we are
The This and That Guys.
This is Collection Central.
That is Memory Lane.
This is Kenner's M.A.S.K line.
And that is a toy line seeing its first release in 40 years.
Kenner Products was formed in 1946 in Cincinnati, Ohio by brothers Albert, Philip, and Joseph Steiner. The company has partnered with, been merged with, and was eventually even purchased by other companies. The most famous of these being their merger with Parker Brothers, becoming Kenner Parker Toys in 1985, which was purchased by Tonka in 1987 and eventually completely absorbed by Hasbro in 1991.
Kenner themselves had become a name in pop culture history when they accepted the offer in 1976 refused by M.A.S.K Corporation to produce Star Wars merchandise. The concept was genius from a business standpoint. The top-selling figures of the day, namely G.I. Joe and Barbie, had a standard size of 11.5 to 12 inches. Scaling their figures down to 3.75 inch, a full 3/4 shorter, enabled mass production of hundreds of different characters and vehicles at a fraction of the cost. Even Hasbro would follow suit in 1982, producing the most treasured G.I. Joe line in history.
3 movies and several Star Wars lines later, Kenner is near the top of the list of heavy hitters in the toy industry. In 1985, they began scouting for a fresh idea to follow up the last run of their Return of the Jedi line. They sent eyes out to the market to find out what was cooking. The results would find that rival Hasbro's G.I. Joe line was hot, and Transformers were on fire.
The decision? Mash the two concepts into one, scale the toys down even further, and top it off with some good old 22-minute long 80s advertisement for kids. Cartoons, toys, and comics all came into play in usual fashion to produce for young ones a full world of illusion to dissolve themselves into.
M.A.S.K, where ordinary men and innocent-looking vehicles become an awesome fighting team, and illusion is the ultimate weapon. Through the mini-comics, we learn that Matt Tracker founded M.A.S.K after the murder of his brother Andrew. While working on top-secret braking technology, Andy's partner Miles Mayhem betrayed him for personal gain, stealing all the data he could escape with and leaving the elder Tracker for dead.
Matt would soon take the recovered data and, recruiting certain specialists from different fields of technology, form Mobile Armored Strike Kommand to defend various sacred lands and artifacts around the world from Miles's Venom, the vicious evil network of mayhem, who would use the same technology to try to gain the most infamous of 80s glory, power and riches.
M.A.S.K exploded on the scene in 1985, a short-lived phenomenon that was, has been, or for some still is, the coolest line ever to hit toy shelves. Each agent, specifically selected based upon skill sets for each mission, came equipped with their own powered helmet, or mask, which would be energized by the sacred crystal which was at the heart of all research, and the agents would finally pilot their transformable vehicles into battle against the same technology.
The toys were released in 4 waves, respectively known as Series 1, Series 2, the Racing Series, these 3 waves reflecting each of the 3 seasons in the cartoon series, and finally, in 1987 and selling into 1988, the Split Second Series.
Series 1 consisted of M.A.S.K agents, Matt Tracker with his Spectrum mask, and the Thunderhawk Camaro/Gullwing jet.
Hondo McClane with his blaster mask and the Firecracker pickup/combat truck.
Dusty Hayes with his Backlash mask and the Gator Jeep/speedboat.
Brad Turner with his Hocus Pocus hologram mask on the Condor motorcycle/gyrocopter.
And Bruce Sato with his lifter mask, and Matt Tracker, this time clad in his uniform for use with his Ultra Flash mask. These two came together in one of the fan-favorite vehicles, Rhino, the large semi-truck/mobile defense unit.
Venom agents included Miles Mayhem with his Viper mask and the Switchblade helicopter/fighter jet.
Slyrax with his Stiletto mask riding the Piranha motorcycle with Escape sidecar submarine.
and Cliff Dagger with his torch mask and driving the Jackhammer SUV/Battle Riser.
As with most 80s cartoons, the creators decided that kids needed a representative character to relate to throughout each episode. Enter Scott Tracker, Matt's only son, along with his trusted robot T-Bob, made with the help of Bruce Sato, whom would find themselves usually in the heart of and even contributing to each mission.
Kenner's release of this duo was rather underwhelming. Scott was the bare minimalist figure, while T-Bob was the major disappointment. No retractable and appearing wheels. Nope, just T-Bob with wheels in one form and in the other. But at least we did have the figures to add to and complete our adventures.
And finally came the ultimate first series release, the Boulder Hill Battle playset. This innocent-looking gas station, which transformed into a fully mannable battle station, was manned by Buddy Hawks of M.A.S.K, who came equipped with his Penetrator mask, and also included Alex Sector with his Jackrabbit mask.
In this manner, releasing Alex with Boulder Hill and the secondary tracker with Rhino, Kenner was able to package each of the original agents of the team. That is, all but the only female of the team. We'll circle back around to that momentarily.
Boulder Hill was awesome for a playset scaled down to match that of the barely over 3-inch figures that the line presented. Features included drop-down armor and aimable cannon, pull-around armor allowing for M.A.S.K's vehicles to come busting out of the station, pivoting dual turrets hidden within the building's sign, trap door into a removable holding cell, gas pumps in the front doubling as manned laser cannons, and the namesake itself, the launchable boulder from the top of the hill which can be used to crush vehicles of approaching enemies and which revealed a hidden manned cannon beneath.
This was a must-have playset at what was then an unbelievably affordable price due to the smaller scale using less plastics to produce the item. And Wave 1 alone left us with enough items to play for hours upon hours, and a wonderment for what was to come next.
And what came next was an overload of excitement. Series 2 consisted of Outlaw, the tractor-trailer rig which transformed into a complete defense unit in and of itself, even topping the coveted Rhino in number of features and sheer size alone. Newly introduced Nash Gory with his Powerhouse mask, and Miles Mayhem, newly clad and armed with his Python mask, manned the helm.
We also saw Stinger, the GTO/battle tank complete with Scorpion Tail, with Bruno Shepard at the helm donning his Magna Beam mask.
And Vampire, the cycle-turned-solo jet piloted by Floyd Malloy with his Buckshot mask.
And M.A.S.K, of course, was sure to outdo Venom with sheer numbers alone, as we would receive in the second series, Firefly, the dune buggy/wing jet piloted by Julio Lopez with his Streamer mask.
Raven, the Corvette release which triples as a jet and a submarine, introducing pilot Calhoun Burns with his Gulliver mask.
Hurricane, Hondo McClane's secondary vehicle, as Firecracker was the only vehicle ever shown to be damaged beyond repair in the cartoon. Outfitted with Blaster 2 mask, Hondo could drive inside or hop up to the cannon as this 57 Chevy converted into its own top-mounted tank.
Slingshot, former NASA test pilot Ace Riker is introduced in this RV which splits open to reveal launching fighter jet.
And Volcano Van, driven by martial artist and lumberjack Jacques Lafleur with his Mirage mask and the first and only motorized vehicle in the line. While Tracker, with Lava Shot mask and co-driving his third vehicle, can take the driver's seat.
This brings us to the wave which would follow the last season of the cartoon. The once episodic series that had a whopping 65 episodes in the first 2 seasons was reduced to a 10-episode series for its third and final season, which suddenly saw the entire theme of the cartoon shift from agents in the battle to protect innocents and artifacts into battles carried out on racetracks across the world.
For this all-new line, Kenner would drop some of the most sought-after, some of the most simplistic, and, some would say, at least one of the most ridiculous vehicles in the entire toy line.
M.A.S.K would step back on the scene with the likes of Goliath 1 and 2. Bursting first out of the gate raced Matt Tracker with his Shroud mask and his new stock car / what else? Fighter jet. Giving us a double shot, Kenner released this car together with its new transport / pop-up battle station, driven by new member Nevada Rushmore, with his unfortunately badly conceived Totem mask.
Wildcat, Buddy Hawks,
now going by the handle Clutch, is finally given his own vehicle. Befitting his occupation as the resident mechanic, this tow truck / rise-up disc launcher sees Clutch wielding his new Ditcher mask.
This brings us to Razorback, one of the few questionable releases in the line. This stock car / pop-up mobile archway was driven expertly by Brad Turner donning his new Eclipse mask.
Meteor. Ace Riker shows off his NASA piloting chips in the only racing series vehicle unable to actually, race. Jumping in as more of the on-guard lookout, Ace flies this jet, which splits into a mini-jet / missile launching station.
Bulldog. Arguably the most exciting new vehicle introduced, this Mack truck-style rig / armored tank was driven by Russian masked double agent Boris Bushkin with Comrade mask. Yeah, foreign stereotypes were pretty much the norm in the 80s.
Bullet. A fun little affordable item of the day was this racing bike / hovercraft flown by new recruit Ali Bombay donning Vortex mask.
Seemingly demoted to background players in some unexpected quote-unquote vehicles, we find Dusty Hayes with his vacuum mask, waiting out races until needed inside Billboard Blast, a literal flying billboard which opened to reveal a gunner and missile launcher.
And Alex Sector. Our computer and communications expert is now manning the Collector, a toll booth that doubles as a small communications station with its own defense systems, including Alex's new Disruptor mask.
And driving for Team Venom, Miles Mayhem with his Flexor mask now rides alongside his newly introduced twin brother Maximus with his Deep Freeze mask, and co-piloting this race car that splits into 2 single slot cars and a midsection which takes to the air flown by a drone.
Vanessa Warfield finally shows up as both the first of 2 females in the world of M.A.S.K to see a release, and also having been in the cartoon series from the earliest episodes. Donning Whip mask, Vanessa takes to the tracks or the air in this 300ZX, which becomes a fighter jet.
Slyrax puts in his appearance as Venom's demoted agent, wearing his buzzsaw mask as he is stuck manning Pit Stop Catapult, whose 2 modes are literally in its name.
And finally, Lester Sludge joins the ranks as the loudmouth driver of Iguana, the ATV / buzzsaw chopper with his Mudslinger mask.
At this point, the kids who were playing with mask figures and watching cartoons 3 years prior were now finding other interests, and the intrigue in the mask concept was fading and the cartoon saw the end of its run.
Enter the Split Second series, Kenner's last attempt at reviving interest in the line. With the new feature design loaded in their arsenal, Kenner released what would be M.A.S.K's last hurrah.
These new vehicles gained their name due to the fact that they were now vehicles which would split into 2 separate manned vehicles, the first piloted by the agent and the second piloted by the line's second gimmick, the hologram clones of the agents.
As the line was fading, this last wave now contains within it some of the rarest, most expensive, and most sought-after releases in the history of the toy line.
These releases included renamed versions of the team's original masks, so Spectrum was simply New Spectrum.
Venom's releases were reduced to their original 3-per series and included Miles Mayhem's Wolf Beast. Arguably one of the most sought-after releases in the entire collection, this modified Stingray splits to reveal its gunner shuttle and tank modes.
Bruno Shepard's Barracuda, his motorcycle which split into a 3-wheeler and a jet glider.
And Floyd Malloy's Vandal. Another oddity of the line, this bulldozer construction vehicle doubled as a jet and a small battle racer.
The M.A.S.K vehicle releases included Matt Tracker's Skybolt, his fighter jet which transformed into both a race car and a manned rocket.
Bruce Sato's Dynamo, a dune buggy which splits into a gyrocopter, a drivable 4-wheeler, and for some reason, an escape jet glider.
Dusty Hayes' Afterburner, a funny car racer which split into a droned jet and missile launcher.
Jacques Lafleur's Detonator, a Volkswagen Beetle turned motorbike and hovercraft.
Julio Lopez's Fire Force, a Fiero-style car that splits into an all-terrain 3-wheeler and glider. Glider getaways were a bit of a popular trend in the 80s.
And finally, we arrive at the only agent never to have been released in any form since Wave 1, the second of only 2 females in the entire saga, and also the owner of the only vehicle shown to have a major role in at least 2/3 of the full series run from the very first episodes, and yet, due to what has arguably been licensing disagreements due to the vehicle's close resemblance to a James Bond's vehicle, complete with submarine transformation, Shark sadly never saw the light of day.
And neither had our next driver, until redemption finally hit during M.A.S.K's last hurrah. Gloria Baker makes her first and only appearance in the entire run, thanks to the split seconds line. Finally donning her aura mask, she steps into her Lamborghini, then joins the battle as she takes to the air when her car splits into a jet and a helicopter.
In between all these series runs and on both sides of the ocean were several smaller collectible releases to pad your collection. Variant paints, UK releases, and even adventure packs, some selling today for as much as the most sought after vehicles due to the rarity of laying your hands on one.
Laser Command. Kenner's last attempt at trying to keep the M.A.S.K line relevant into the later part of the decade would come in the form of a double release of Tracker and Mayhem in an ultimate electronic vehicle showdown.
Hidden inside a seemingly inconspicuous crate known as Hornet awaits Tracker with his new Lasertron mask. This crate opens up into a small rocket jet equipped with an accurate laser with sound which is to be used in conjunction with Miles' Rat Fang, the getaway truck he hops into with his Raynet mask.
When the Hornet flies within shooting range of the Rat Fang, the proper blast to the front of the vehicle will leave the Rat Fang in shambles.
The only other form of fresh releases over the past years have come from die-hard fans and custom toy makers doing their darndest to try to fight against the machine that is Hasbro, who carries the licensing rights, and continuously pumping out their own versions of toys that have long slipped from the hands and dreams of collectors, and keeping the line alive.
The year is 2025, and it's officially been 40 years since M.A.S.K first entered kids' homes on TV screens and in plastic mold form. Of all the fantastical toy lines of the great 80s, He-Man, Transformers, G.I. Joe, Thundercat, Silverhawks, Voltron, M.A.S.K somehow remains the only one of these popular series that never saw a re-release, a reboot, or even a remark in the toy industry for 4 complete decades. Until now.
Earlier this year, the team at The Loyal Subjects made a massive announcement. Hitting the market in 2008 with their Action Vinyls line, they struck up a distribution deal with Bandai in 2019, and last year, shook hands with Hasbro.
This coming together of a smaller company with a heavy-hitting conglomerate proved a success for longtime fans of 80s kids culture. The 80s were officially making a comeback. From Gem and the Holograms to My Pet Monster, the Loyal Subjects were spreading the love.
And for the first time in 40 years, that love is being poured out onto the long-forgotten fans of Mobile Armored Strike Command and the vicious evil network of mayhem. San Diego Comic-Con, online forums, and pre-order pages have been announced, gone up, and become a success.
As of September 1st, 2025, official releases of M.A.S.K toys will be shipping out to the hands of inner children worldwide. The first vehicles announced and already shipping out in the wave include Thunderhawk, Rhino, Condor, and Switchblade.
New air effects, ground effects, missile launching effects, and even effects for indicating use of the M.A.S.K powers. Articulation will be added to the figures at the elbows, finally allowing them to tuck their masks under their arms, and 2 M.A.S.K versions are to be released with each agent. One, the originally released small versions that are so beloved by avid fans, and the second, the longer versions released after the original run of Series 1. These secondary masks will have the connected power effects previously mentioned.
Sneak peeks of Wave 2 are already being shown, with Jack Hammer and Hurricane being teased in the official images. Exciting minifans, since the first 4 vehicles released in the line were not only 4 of the original first wave of releases in the 80s, but because of this fact, they are actually considered by some to be the most common, or, sadly, even the most generic releases of the line. So Wave 2 already has people talking in excitedly hushed tones.
Throw on top of all of this recent news of the added announcements of the secondary 40th Anniversary Edition releases, and you have some major options and opportunities as one who desires to own something special.
These 40th Anniversary Editions will have a new color scheme across the board, changing the paint job of all 4 of these first 4 vehicles in Wave 1 to black and shooting through with gold trim and accessories, with agents' outfits and masks having the same majestic black and gold scheme.
This has divided fans down the middle, with half seeing the second release as nothing more than a greedy cash grab, and the other very excited to grab up these sleek-looking celebratory releases as another tribute to one of the greatest toy lines ever created.